Hello, hi, how you doing? Right, so I know I've only got your attention for a couple of minutes because you're probably really bored of the election and everything's done. It's a tomorrow, you know it's tomorrow, right? You need to get out and vote. So give me 5 minutes of your time. Right, one of the main things is, the three main things that you've heard about in this election: education, health, independence, yeah? This is a Westminster election. It's got fuck all to do with any of the three of them. The only thing that can be affected by this is the funding for those things. So if you vote Tory, guess what they're going to do? They're going to cut the funding. They're going to cut Scotland's budget again. And you know what's going to happen then? The SNP is going to have less money in government to spend on health and education, and you're going to complain about the SNP not spending enough on health and education. Why is that? It's because you voted Tory. Right. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's look at why they are talking about these things. Well, it's because they think that they've got a good case to make against the SNP, and because, let's face it, the media like to do that. Now, health. Okay, more spending going into the NHS. That is absolutely not in doubt, right? The only question that you sometimes hear is people saying that the funding in Scotland has not kept up with pace with the funding in England. Now that is nonsense. Health spending per head in Scotland is 7% higher per head, right? Per head, 7% higher. Now what you've seen is extra money going into the NHS in England, which hasn't kept pace with the amount of extra people that they have in England. Okay, so they failed to invest in their NHS properly. The Barnett consequences have come up here on a per head basis, and we've put the money into the NHS. That's what's happened. As far as education is concerned, you will constantly hear this refrain that Scottish education is on the slide, it's terrible, it's crap, all the kids are stupid, right? Not true. You hear a fifth of kids have left education functionally illiterate is the phrase they use. Well, guess what? That's not true either, okay? That comes from them misreading, deliberately, a report into Scottish education. But guess what? Guess what the figure is in England? 17%. 17% of kids leave primary school functionally illiterate. And you know how I know that? Because Sheffield University did a study on it. Now, one quick thing. Don't believe a word I say, right? Don't take any of it at face value. Get online, get on Google, Bing if you have to, and look it up, okay? Find it yourself. Discover whether I'm telling the truth or not. Now, you should be doing this with every single piece of information that comes to you during an election campaign. Doesn't matter who it's from. Now, whether you trust that politician, trust that newscaster, trust that newsreader, they could all be telling you porkies. Now, that doesn't mean that they're liars, it doesn't mean that they're out to get anybody, and it doesn't mean that they have an agenda, okay? Just sometimes it's the news cycle, it's the information that people have. This 1/5 of kids leaving primary school functionally illiterate, it's just a supposed fact. Except if you go onto the ferret, I believe it's scottferret.co.uk, I'll put links up to all of this stuff, okay? Sorry, this is just a wee bit out of the way. Go to his website, go and read up and find out exactly what the true figure is. Now, the reason that they want to go on about health and education isn't just because the SNP are in power, it isn't just because it's a devolved government, it's because they don't want to talk about the SNP's record at Westminster. For decades, we have voted Labour to keep the Tories out. And you know what they've done? They've gone down there, they've collected their salary, and yeah, okay, they've done some good things over the time. Let's not say that they haven't, because that would be a lie. Right? Scottish Labour have done some very good things over the years, but you know what else they did? Bugger all, right? They sat there and they collected their money and they voted as part of things that they were told to vote as part of. What did they do for Scotland specifically? How many times have you heard the word Scotland since the SNP went down to Westminster? Constantly. You constantly hear about people whining on about the Scots, the Scottish, they're too rowdy, they're making noise, they're clapping, oh no, oh no, what will we do when they're clapping? Well, we clap in the Scottish Parliament and it's absolutely fine. And it's fine to clap in Parliament if it's something that the Speaker is happy about, or if it's a speech that is about killing brown people. That's absolutely fine to clap at, but you can't possibly clap at anything to do with Scotland. Now, the SNP performance at Westminster has been mixed, let's face it, right? They didn't get a single thing through on their amendments for the Scotland Act. Why? Because they were voted down by all the other politicians, because we as Scotland get 59 seats out of 650. So if every single MP in Scotland votes for something and MPs in England overrule it, guess what? It doesn't happen, right? That's the power that we have in this country. That's how great we are at Westminster. Every single one of our MPs, bar one, voted for something and we didn't get it. And it was only for Scotland. So think about that. We were overruled because England didn't want to give us something that we wanted. That's your partnership of equals. That's your union, right? They don't want to talk about Angus Robertson spending every week at PMQs putting Theresa May on the spot when Jeremy Corbyn continues to miss open goals. He gets all the way up to the point of asking a question and then sits down. This is the leader of the opposition. Now, I would rather have him as a Prime Minister than Theresa May because she is useless. She can't even answer the question that he doesn't ask. She just waffles away and grumbles about something, sits down and then has a line about being strong and stable and hopes that you'll just buy it. Well, don't, okay? Go and look up all of the information that she is putting out there. Look at what she's planning on doing. Cutting the Human Rights Act. They're going to take us out of the European Union despite the fact that she didn't want to do it and everybody knows the bloody stupid thing to do. But because of the number on the side of a bus, we're going out. If you respect the Scottish Parliament, then you have to accept that whether you agree with it or not, the Scottish Parliament voted to give the people of Scotland a choice on independence or Brexit. That's what it is. It's not about having another independence referendum. This is what the Tories and Labour, to an extent, will want you to believe. That Nicola Sturgeon simply called another independence referendum out the blue. Nobody knew it was going to happen. Why on earth is she doing this? It's as though we didn't have a Brexit vote and we didn't have 62% of the country voting to stay in the European Union. We're told our vote doesn't count. We're told, oh, it was a UK vote. You just have to go along because you voted to stay part of the UK. Well, no. We don't, and that's not how it works. That's not how democracy works, okay? You constantly have these people saying, I don't want you to hijack my Remain vote and say that you're going to use it to have another independence referendum. Well, how dare you? You're hijacking the vote of every single person who voted no in the independence referendum to say, you voted no, haha, tough. You now have to deal with whatever the UK throws at us. Well, no, because they broke their vow. They broke their promise. They didn't deliver the Scotland on what the Smith Commission put forward. And if you don't believe that, again, go check. Right? You'll find that on the night before, when the Smith Commission had already been watered down from what we were promised in the vow because it was so vague that you couldn't possibly deliver anything that everybody thought it was, the Conservative cabinet sat and ripped more out of it because they didn't want to pass it on to us. That's how they look at us. That's how they feel about us. And if that's what you want to be part of, entirely up to you. That's your choice, okay? But you don't get to make that decision for other people. So when it comes to an independence referendum, we will have that, and we'll have it because the Scottish Parliament voted for it, okay? But this is a Westminster election. There will be only one government, and it will probably either be a Labour government or it will be a Tory government. And if you voted Tory and you get a Tory government, then by God you don't get to complain about the cuts that are coming. You don't get to cry about the fact that your family members are being forced to pay extra money out. You don't get to complain about the lack of benefits. You don't get to complain about anything being cut, because at that point it's your fault. You voted for it, and you did it purely because of independence. What you could have done is voted for whatever party you wanted to win the election, and then when it comes to independence, vote no. That's what you do, vote no, right? But that's your choice. You're voting right now to not have a choice. That's what you're saying. I want to choose now, despite not knowing what a year and a half's worth of Brexit negotiations look like. That is exactly the same as they are saying about the independence referendum. They're telling you that you don't know what things look like, but Nicola Sturgeon wants you to vote on it. But that's exactly what Ruth Davidson is asking you to do now. She wants you to not know what Brexit looks like, but accept it no matter what. Is that what you want to do? Or do you want to vote for who you want to vote for? So, when it comes to tomorrow and you're coming to vote, just remember, health, education, independence, not on the ballot paper. Don't matter, can't be affected, nothing to do with it, no matter what they say, no matter what any party says, and that includes the SNP. Okay? The only thing that will change the independence vote is if Holyrood decides that they don't want one anymore. Other than that, what you're talking about is the Scottish Parliament voting for something and the UK Parliament saying no. If you're comfortable with that, that's fine. Up to you. What you are voting on is who represents you and your family at Westminster for the next 5 years. During the entire Brexit process, that's what you're choosing, is who represents you. Because let's face it, the UK Parliament is going to be doing very little else other than Brexit. Now, they might pretend that they're going to do all sorts of things, and Theresa May wants to tell you that she's going to rip up the Human Rights Act, and she's going to do all manner of different changes. But the bottom line is, they will be so busy with Brexit, so busy with all the legislation that comes from that, that they will bring the country to a halt and have very little else to do. So who do you want representing you? Do you want Conservatives representing you? If you believe in their policies, if you think that the two-child tax credit limit is fair, if you think the rate clause is fair, if you think cutting benefits is fair, by all means, that's what you have a choice to do. But if you're doing it purely for the union and because you don't want an independence referendum, well, all you're doing is you're saying you don't want Holyrood. You don't believe in a Scottish Parliament, you don't want there to be a Scottish Parliament, and if that's what you want, that's fine, that's your choice. That's why we have choices, that's why we have elections. But please, vote on the issues that matter, not on the ones that they've been telling you about.